and show ourselves and show other women that we can do this. I go back also in technology, and I'm still seeing studies that say that younger women and girls still hang back when they're in a gender, when they're outnumbered, or there may be more men than women, or other genders, or whatever it may be. We all need to be represented. And I think that women being visible about what they're doing, I encourage, so with the Metaverse Chamber of Commerce and other interests I have, like XR Women, who are doing a lot of GatherVerse this week, and I'm very excited about that, which is why I wear my XR Women purple color.
Lovely. I didn't get to see the full version.
Yeah, we always encourage the visibility, and I'm always telling our members what you're doing online for yourself. If you're creating, even if you're doing it on your own, tell everybody about it. Women should know that other women are doing this, and we're building together and building across the board with everybody. But we need to be all represented, and it all just goes across that line. I always see these new texts, whatever it is, when it was the internet, when it's AI, when it's games, when it's the metaverse, I see them as level playing fields. And if everybody steps forward and says they're doing it, no matter who they are, then you see the diversity of the participation, and everybody is encouraged. I can do that. If they can do that, I can do that. And that's so important. And we should do it here too. We should do it everywhere. And unfortunately, it's still needed. Women still need to encourage each other to take that step. We really. So we need to be very visible.
Thank you very much, Alison, for joining us and sharing those amazing insights. Kada was well. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much for this. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Greetings and welcome to the second panel, GatherVerse She Summit 2026. I'd like to commend the first fireside chat, the second roundtable, the first roundtable, and every speaker who came before us, because we're only going to take it a notch higher. And with me, I have very wonderful leaders who are going to help us demystify the power of women leadership, the future of tomorrow. Well, panelists, I'd like you to introduce yourself. And until I called upon, I request you to stay muted. And well, who shall I begin with? Kim, how about we start with you? Let's get to know you. Why are you here and who are you? Then we'll pass it over to Emily, and then we'll conclude with Pooja. Over to you, Kim.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Nelson-Wright, founder and CEO of K&W Business Advisors. I work with women leaders and mission-driven organizations to build clarity, emotional intelligence, and systems that support sustainable leadership. My work focuses on helping leaders grow without burnout or chaos, especially as technology, culture, and expectations continue to evolve. And I'm excited to be a part of the conversation. Thank you.
We're excited to have you. Thank you so much, Kim. We look forward to hear your expressions. Over to you, Emily. Tell us who you are.
Hello, everybody. I'm Emily Wright. I am the creator of It'll Be Alright. I'm excited to be here today because my first ever GatherVerse was She Summit 2023. And now I'm still here, so it's cool to see how much it's expanded. I am a certified life coach, and I specialize on the intersection of psychology and technology and looking at how we can be manipulated through content and algorithms. So I have a digital wellness seminar where I teach people how content uses our emotions, and I teach people about bias and how to recognize it in ourselves and in each other and on online, and then figure out tools to make sure that we can steer that in a way that's a little bit more productive. And so excited to be here today, and I look forward to hearing the conversation.
Thank you, Emily. We're always excited to have you here, and shout out to you since 2023 and now it's 2026. Thank you so much for choosing us. Lavinia, over to you. Your mic, please. All right, let's come to you, Tiffany. We're very happy to-
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Let me turn my screen reader off. I apologize.
You're welcome.
My name is Tiffany Martin. I am the founder and CEO of Visiotech. We work on AI cybersecurity solutions as well as provide education and training. And our focus is making sure that technology and systems are more equitable and centering humans and protecting them first, as all of these industrial revolutions are emerging right now. And I'm excited. This is not my first GatherVerse. And I'm always just pleased and overjoyed to participate and just share from my perspective. So happy to be here amongst these speakers.
You're welcome, Tiffany. Yes, it's not your first time, and we're always pleased whenever we see you. Teresa, this is not your first time as well. Please tell us who you are.
Hi, my name is Teresa Grant Narsimon, and that's right, it's not my first GatherVerse. I really love being part of GatherVerse, and I have been involved for now a year. I am here today because I love anything that has to do with leadership and women. I'm in Tanzania today, this week, near Kilimanjaro, and I run an organization that operates globally. We provide quality education to disadvantaged youth, and we have women's programs. We really focus on the intersection between education and jobs and filling that gap and making sure that women especially get the chance to not only be given access to quality education, but get that chance to get into the workforce. And we have a learning management software system, an LMS, that we've created that is bringing AI in and training women, especially to get the job experience that they need, work experience, management experience to get jobs and prepare themselves for the workforce. So grateful to be here.
We're happy to have you here, and definitely say hi to the people of Tanzania. It's just right down here from Kenya. And Pooja, we saw you last at Book Summit, but tell us who you are.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Pooja, and currently I'm in New Delhi, India. I am a conversational AI evangelist with Conversive AI, and I operate at the intersection of academia and industry. In Conversive, I craft thought leadership across messaging ecosystems and conversational technologies. And I'm also a founder of a website called techitonics.com, which is very close to my heart, as I've built a dedicated space for exploring developments across robotics, space, health, ecology, and future technologies. And on the same website, I also showcase my regular book reviews, as in the books that I enjoy reading. And at times, the writers also approach me. And in return, all I want is a book in hardbound, and I give them a review, an honest review. And outside work, I'm also a long distance runner. And I've approximately completed around 41 marathons, and I'm running since 2016.
Wow.
Thank you.
I'm gonna join you in marathon, but you have to teach me. That is such a fascinating bio, and we're very happy to have you, Pooja.
Thank
Lavinia,
you.
let's hear from you.
Hi, I want to say Happy New Year.
Happy New
Hi,
Year to you
everyone.
too.
I am calling in from London, UK. This is my first GatherVerse, even though I am a fan and a follower of Christopher, the founder. So I run the amazing and award-winning Women in Blockchain Talks. I started it because I said I wanted to be the Oprah of blockchain, shine in the spotlight many women who were building because representation matters. We've been going for 6 years now, very proud of that. And I moved from community-led spaces to policy-led spaces. Back in 2022, 2 of my NFTs were stolen. I took it to the High Courts of England and Wales. And off the back of that, the judges stated that my assets were property. I set case law. It was used, that case law is now used around the world. And just last month, the UK, or should I say England and Wales, stated that digital assets under the jurisdiction of England and Wales is now defined as property. A huge win.
Yes, and you are the Oprah of blockchain. You take that. That title is yours, and thank you for sharing that beautiful case study. And it's
Thank you.
definitely a lesson for so many. And dear panelists, shall we begin? All right, all right, all right. Let's go to our first question. And I just want to throw this into anyone who wants to contribute to this first. What leadership capabilities will define relevance and make an impact for the future generations? Who wants to go first?
I'd like to go.
All right.
So because of the work that I have done, moving from community to policy led, I think future ready leadership is less about authority and it's more about stewardship. You know, how do we steward the technology that's coming in and ensure that many and not just a few are part of its development, of its build? So for me, leaders who will remain relevant are those who can translate complexity into clarity, balance innovation with responsibility, and build trust across systems that don't fully control. So yeah, that's what my thoughts are.
You know, I share the same feeling when you say it's about stewardship, right? It's not about the title. And as a young person, for us, I think the generation of someone like Emily or me, for us, leadership doesn't come with titles. It comes with the stewardship. It comes with responsibility. And I really, that is heartfelt. I agree with that. And Kim, you had something to say. Please add it.
I was going to add that I think the ability to self-regulate under pressure, communicating with clarity, and designing systems that support people, not just the outcomes. Future-ready leaders will be judged by how how sustainably they lead, and not how hard they push. So I think that's going to be definitely relevant for future leaders.
That stick with me. How sustainably they lead. Teresa, please tell me.
I was just going to add, I think this is where women are going to really thrive. And the reason for that are whether we're mothers or not, we have an innate ability to care for others. And I really feel like this is the time where we're going to be needed the most to really think thoughtfully about how AI is used, how technology is used in the health sector, making sure that people are cared for, thinking about our bodies, not just thinking about the technology and efficiency, but how it affects us, and being well-rounded and taking care of those who are using technology, because it does affect our health as well.
Yes.
So I think it's going to be a time of us rising up and really bringing out that ability to care and nurture ourselves and others.
Yeah, I really see where you're coming from, and I'm certain all women can relate to that. It's an inherent nature to care. That is absolutely right. And does anyone want to add in to this particular topic before we shift things?
I can add in.
Yes, please.
Just building off of everybody's response, because they were all, very accurate and on the point. It's those soft skills, we now know them as durable or power skills that's needed. Empathy, compassion, um, which, we do uh, intrinsically have as women. But I do believe on top of that, it's going to require both discernment as well as ingenuity. Coming in a world that is really ruled by autonomy and automation, just someone to be able to see the bigger picture. And we do a great job of that, not only with systems thinking, but, where we centralize the human aspect in the midst of, everything that's going on. So I think, between sustainability and stewardship,
Yes.
and, just everything all together, I think it's very much needed right now.
Absolutely. That was very well, beautifully summarized. And I want to maybe shift to something that is maybe like a thread to our previous conversation is what leadership roles are emerging that did not previously exist, especially for women. Emily, I want to pick you on this, and anyone who wants to chime in on that as well.
Yeah, this is an interesting question, I think, especially given where the economy is at right now. And it's much harder for people to find even basic jobs. So a lot more people are having to get creative and take risks and try new things and create things for themselves and think outside the box and enhance skills that AI can't take away from us. And I think there's a lot more opportunity for education in that space. And as has been discussed, women and female individuals are more likely to have an intrinsic sense of empathy and care and being able to make connections. And I think that is what is really crucial right now. And I think that is a big asset that we have and that we need to bring into both the business space and the education space. And especially with younger generations, with where we're at right now, there's a lot of need for that kind of education. And leadership is a big part of that. And we see how in social media and honestly, like podcasts have creating a new kind of leadership where we've had influencers for a long time, but now I feel like there's a rising interest in like self-help podcasts and wellness podcasts. And there's a responsibility and leadership that comes out of that. And I think that's been interesting to see, but that's my thoughts on that. And what does other people think?
Yes, and that is wholeheartedly. Maybe let me just chime in on that. When you mentioned about podcast, I remember 10 years from now, 10 years ago, we didn't have anything called podcast. But right now, we now have podcast influencers. We have podcast hosts who are getting 10 million views, and now they're getting rewards. It's now becoming a career, right? And thank you just for putting that together. Who wanted to chime in kindly? Who
Yes, yes. Hi. I'd like to add, I'd like to build up on what Emily had just said. I come from AI domain, so I can give like 2 pointers, 2 designations on it. Last week only, I was discussing this with a colleague of mine in the office. And, we came up with 2 new designations, or you can say the leadership roles. So one was CAO, Chief Automation Officer, and the second one was Human Machine Collaboration Manager. Right. So I've been writing a lot about AI tools and orchestration things. And whenever I end my write-up, I always mention that whatever tool or whatever infra you are on, you always need human in the loop. So we are building certain automations. The guys are the tech guys, the DevOps guys, they're building automations. So we wanted somebody, a human in the loop kind of a thing. So that's what we thought of this designation that I'm saying, human machine collaboration manager. And while I was at it, another thing, third bottleneck that I observed in my organization was people work in silos, the departments work in silos. So I was also thinking something about, like systems leader, the one who mobilize others without any title as of now. So the main job would be mapping interdependencies across teams, products, and processes, and aligning work across functions to avoid those silo optimization things. So these were the things I was discussing in the office as well. And interestingly, the question came up here as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was a very beautiful sentiment. When you were talking, I was thinking, what other role could we create? And I was like, okay, can we have a chief humanity officer, something of the sort? Yeah, right. And
Yes.
maybe Kim, I see you wanted to chime in. Please, it's your opportunity right now.
I was agree with both sentiments. We're seeing the rise of roles that sit between human and systems, and leaders don't just have to manage the people anymore. They're managing the tools and integrating them together. So the leadership is more comprehensive, more expansive.
Yes, thank you for summarizing that. Beautifully said. And I want to maybe shift to the just a little bit of women leaders here. And I'm coming to you, Lavinia. Are there some that systemic designs that continue to disadvantage female emerging leaders? And how can that be changed? And I also want to hear from you, Teresa. But Lavinia, over to you.
Thank you very much, Lynn. So change happens when we redesign the system. Women are still over-mentored and under-sponsored. We all know this. We are invited to speak, but not to decide. We're encouraged to build community, which we're great at, but excluded from capital and governance. And so this creates a void. So in my opinion, what needs to be redesigned is funding models, accelerators, boards. So women aren't just participants, but architects. And I know we just left the last question, but I think my answers touches on the roles that I see coming in, these leadership roles, which in my opinion are hyper leadership roles. So ecosystem architects in order to create the change. Roles that touch on trust and governance, AI and data ethics stewards, and community-driven venture builders. Because unless we can, change the architect, we can't change the pathways. And so that is what is required.
Lavinia, I'm so glad that you brought up the issue that if we can't change the system, then nothing changes. And that is where we have been for years, right? Women are over-mentored, underfunded. And the system is designed that way, right? But I just want to hear more thoughts from you. How do we deal with that? I saw you, Teresa. Do you have something to add on that?
Ironically, I was going to say, there's a paradox. We have more remote work now, and that is an advantage. But now it's building cultural connection, and how do we connect while we're working remotely? Because we have to talk about that, because I feel like many people are working from home. And it's interesting, as women got the right to vote, to work, we never really let go of our other responsibilities. So we're now getting to the point where we're overwhelmed, but we're now working at home at times. You see women taking still on a lot of the responsibilities, and men have the office and they're working, and they have more focus and ability to grow. So I think we have to we bring the conversation to, yes, the workplace, the company, but we also have to bring it back home. And we want to make sure that men are not only elevating women, within the companies, but that their spouses, their partners, whomever that may be, whatever gender, that we're elevating each other wherever we are, wherever we're working from. And so I think that's something for us to talk about as well, is just, let's admit there's a lot of people that aren't even in companies now that are in the office within each other, where have that privacy and focus to be able to do their work. So we have to restructure and make sure that we're accommodating not only the men and the women as well, and making sure that those other responsibilities are balanced.
Yes, you bring a very thought-provoking insight there when it comes to responsibility. It's a topic that could go on, and I'm thankful that you brought that up. Tiffany, please tell us what you think.
And I wholeheartedly believe, it starts with me. I believe it starts at home.
Yes.
And I'm blessed to have a husband that created space for me, for my femininity to safely reside in, for me to pursue all of my aspirations and support. And in some cases that required him to be home while I was out, or, with me being blind, I like to call him my CNI human. So he's, right there with me as I am, speaking on behalf of women of all ages and backgrounds and so forth. And I think it's really important to see that partnership on full display. And I know it would be irresponsible of me to say that, what we have is an anomaly. Because I do know that there are really great men out there that do create space. Hi, Christopher. But we need more of it. And, that upward, trajectory of going into the office. And real quick, just touching with our online spaces, our companies, our organizations, I really think we should start seeing changes within policy. Right
Yes.
now, we see a lot of artifacts like accessibility statements or
Yes.
AI ethics statements. More so, those artifacts are viewed more and treated like symbolisms, as opposed to connecting the human experience to the policies that are there to protect them and actually seeing them enacted and enforced. And so I think, that's one area in which we can do a much better job collectively and kind of bridging the gap of people experiencing, whether that's, different services and products, and then bringing policy closer to real life interactions.
Yes. Tiffany, that was very, very inspiring. And I just want to shout out to everyone who is supporting GatherVerse She Summit. We have men all over the world tuning in, sharing, and encouraging all the women who are here, and including Christopher Lafayette. So thank you so much. And Tiffany, very inspiring. Let me just go to matters with inclusion. Emily, I'm coming to you on this. Which inclusion failures pose the highest strategic risk for the future?
For me, my concern is the technology and the AI, and specifically how youth are using it and how it is influencing not just our perceptions, but our emotions. And I have heard so many conversations from parents who are really concerned about their sons, especially, which I find really interesting. And I think that it's important that we remember that our technology, and particularly AIs that we can converse with, are coming from a male-centric lens, where the most of the data that is being used to train these systems, whether that is in the programming team itself, the people that actually they're creating these programs, and the internet, and the information that's on the internet, and which voices are prioritized by recommendation algorithms as more important and more valuable. This is all things that the AIs learn from us, and they learn from us who is most important and whose voices are more valuable. And I think that is my concern, because it creates a kind of feedback loop with what kind of messages are being presented to us as users, and as that is really impacting the mental health of everybody, but especially the youth, which is really important because they're the future, right? They're the people that are going to be running our governments one day. So I think it's really important that we're able to outline that. That's just my view. I'm curious to see what everyone else thinks on that and what your experience is.
You know, Emily, you bring up a very valuable concern here when it comes to the perspective and the lens that AI looks at things. And last year we had a summit called Women's Health Summit. And one of the things that stood out was, who is feeding the data for women's health? And the conclusion was the men who are working in AI, the one who are feeding AI with women's data. And I might be wrong, but it doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't. And thank you for beautifully highlighting it. And that is why we're having conversations like this, because we're looking at what are we going to do after this? Are we going to take an action? And Kim, please share your thoughts on this.
Sure. I think performative inclusion without real power sharing is a big risk. When diverse voices are invited in, but not trusted to influence outcomes, decisions, that's when organizations lose their innovation, their credibility, and their resilience. So, just having someone there at the table without any real influence is one of the biggest strategic risks, I think, for future leaders.
Having someone at the table with no influence. But I have a follow-up question to that. Does that mean leadership also has to be accompanied with influence?
I do. I think so. Yeah. I mean, when you're leading a group of people, you have to be able to guide them. And if you have no influence and no say so over what's happening, and you're just a taskmaster, then, it becomes performative, and no one's going to want to follow, because, you really have no say so. You're just kind of just the person that's divvying out a task, so to speak.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to add on what Kim just said, when she talked about the leadership, the influencing part of it. I like to work around frameworks, and interestingly, what I've been observing with myself is I've started creating frameworks. Last month, I had a presentation in the office about conversational design. So as I was talking about it, I told them that how I've created a framework around the concept of whatever the office people wanted. So they were pretty happy with it, because they could easily ingest that information. And today in the afternoon, I was just going through those questions that I've received from GatherVerse. And again, I created a framework, and I just like to highlight that framework here. And the framework for, yes, the framework for leadership is adapt, dev. Adapt means how leaders survive change, and dev means how they'll scale it. So adapt means ADAPT. So by A, I mean agility in learning. A leader today needs to learn fast, yes, and unlearn faster, so that he or she can adapt faster. That comes A. D means diversity in decisions, which means actively seeking and integrating diverse perspectives that we just talked about in our previous conversation. A means ambiguity comfort, acts decisively without perfect information. I mean, it's happening with us, at times we don't have the entire information in our hand. So whatever bits of information we have, we need to reach to a particular conclusion. And I think women are really good at it. And then P comes purpose-driven leadership, which means connect business results to human and social impact. And T means technology and change fluency. A leader needs to understand and leverage digital transformation. So this means adapt. And dev means develop others. Once the leader has inculcated these framework in herself, she needs to make clones out of it, build talent pipelines for future leaders. And that's what I say, adapt and dev, the framework I use for leaderships,
Pooja, as I was listening to you, I was also taking my notes. And I believe that we needed to hear that. And I believe some of us have found that very, very insightful. Thank you for bringing out very beautiful.
Thank you.
Clarissa, do you have something to add to their thoughts? Please share. Teresa.
Oh, I was just actually feeling the same thing, but just saying in my head, I feel like systems, making sure that we have the systems set up is something that I'm constantly reminding myself of. And I think within women leadership, it's easy to be doers, and we continue to do when things need to get done. But and I'll be honest, this is a challenge of mine. I'm constantly reminding myself I have to have systems, and I have to share those systems with others. Mm-hmm. And I think especially with AI, we're moving so fast. We have to have systems to make sure that whatever policy we put in place, it's easy to replicate, to share with others. And if we don't have systems, and even the framework, I love that. We move actually slower in the long run, if that makes sense. And we end up getting depleted. So we have to start with those systems, that framework that was brought up. I love that. I'm going to go back to that later. So thank you for bringing that up. But that was just the other thing I was going to add. I think that's really important, going into everything as leaders with the systems that will lead us and our teams.
That was yes, please.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I loved everything that both Pooja. I love the framework and systems. Like systems will always be forever. It doesn't matter what tech comes in. Systems are important. I can say yes, exactly. So I think future leaders, in regards to this, they're not going to know everything. There's so much information to take in. Everything is moving so quickly. But I think what will be important is network intelligence. Can they convene the right people, not just command them? So it's not about knowing everything, but it's about knowing who to bring into the room that is going to make an impact. And I think that is a great indicator of future readiness.
Thank you for beautifully highlighting that. And I'm going to shift to the next question because I think this one was already tackled. And Tiffany, I'm coming to you, and Emily. What leadership stories can inspire future generations? Tiffany, you told us one of your examples, but we want to hear more from you.
One thing I want to share, when I first started Visiotech back in 2019, I started it while I was in the hospital. I was getting prepared to get back on dialysis after a kidney failure. And I realized that there were a lot of gaps between information, technology, access, and being, a woman of color with a disability. There are a lot of barriers to entry that I face, that I know others out there, whether they're represented, in one of, my three identities, that I'm sharing that intersect or not. I wanted to at least start the conversation, be in the room, build something that I might not see the end of, but I'm okay with ruffling up some feathers. And I think right now it takes that resiliency as well as tenacity, but also that vulnerability in order to build something that will outlast you, outlive you for other people. I want to be the floor for many women, the platform in which, they're able to launch all of these, remarkable ideas or movements and so forth. But one in particular, when I did first start it, I did not get a lot of, clients. And so I had to use a male counterpart, my business partner who is sighted, to go out, have the discovery meetings, go, do the networking. And it wasn't until they signed on the dotted line that I would come in and then introduce myself and so forth. And we move forward. And I just stopped in the middle of the pandemic and said, I will no longer, go after clients, accept clients that won't truly accept me and all of me, as well as our staff who have different abilities, identify, differently, whatever that is. And if they're not going to accept us, we have to be the ones to kind of set the mark and, be the example, if we will. So just all of those things. I would just hope, if anybody were to take anything from what I shared, sometimes you might be the only, and I say a lot, you might have the case of the onlys, sorry. And that's okay. They need to see you. It's important. Everything that you bring to the table is absolutely needed right now.
Tiffany, I'm listening to you and I can't help but reflect on what you just said and how you demonstrated your value, not being willing to be on the table with someone who doesn't accept you fully, right? That clicked for me. And I think most women, we're so accustomed to just fitting in, even if it's not comfortable. But when I hear a story like what you just said, you walk out when someone doesn't value you, that's a win for me. And, Emily, what is your story?
I don't know how I can add to that, honestly. It was great. It did make me think of like one thing where you're saying about you only want to do business with people that value you and accept you for who you are. I can't relate to it in the same way, but that is part of the reason why I stopped wearing makeup, because I wanted to show up as myself and show my face. And I wanted people to know who they were negotiating with. And I wanted people to trust who they were negotiating with, which means not wearing a mask. And I know that everybody has their own routines and their own confidence that they're working with. And for me, it was just putting aside the societal expectations of what it means to be women presenting and to be perceived in that way. And I just found I was able to focus more on the actual business itself and the conversations I was having and what I was doing. And I would rather have a relationship with someone or with a business who's going to accept me for me and isn't going to be bothered by physical appearances or how much time I'm spending putting stuff on my face in the morning. So that's kind of something that I thought of. But yeah, there's a lot of inspiration in this panel, I think, with everybody.
Yes, I'm sorry, guys. I'm interrupting again, but I'd like to carry the baton forward, started from Tiffany to Emily, and I'd like to end it. Can you see my gray hair, gray strands? So I started having these 1 year back. So frankly speaking, I used to color my hair, because I wanted to fit in, right? I'm in my early 40s right now. And it's been like almost 6 months now. I've stopped doing it because I don't want to fit in anywhere. This is the actual photo. Like, this is how I look like, I changed my LinkedIn DP as well. This is me, as Emily said, the truth. This is the source code. I don't want to camouflage it and, look something like that. So yes, I loved it. And it's been really wonderful, guys. I'm thoroughly enjoying with each one of you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for that beautiful input and everyone who shared their story. I think that was my highlight as well. We all have something that just makes us stand out. It doesn't make us want us to fit in. Society sometimes would make us want us to fit in, but it's something that is unique and it makes us stand out. And that was beautifully said. And I'm coming to you, Teresa, for almost the last question that we have. What leadership behaviors can sustain trust in frontier systems? And Kim, I will also bring you on this, as well as Lavinia. Teresa. Your mic, please.
I would say just ethics. Ethics is very important. And I think it goes also back to our values. And that's what we just talked about.
Yes.
And I would leave it at that, I think, for me.
All right. That was brief. Lavinia.
Well, transparency, you know, it can't be overhyped. Accountability over speed. Listening before scaling. I think listening is such a fundamental skill, and we have to take the time to do that as leaders. Even more so now with the speed of technology and emerging tech. Taking that time, I think it goes back to someone's point, Pooja's point of being human. And I think to listen is to be human. And when I just think about decentralized systems, leaders must model the behavior they want encoded into technology. You can't build trustless systems with untrustworthy leadership. So, yeah.
Thank you. Kim, what do you have to say on this?
Yeah, I would add, along with transparency, accountability, but also clear boundaries. As the systems become more complex, the trust is sustained by the leaders who can explain the decisions, own their mistakes, and then design the safeguards that protect the people, their staff, customers, whoever they interact with.
That is a very, very strong sentiment. Who else wants to add something to this particular topic, or we can shift to the next one because our time is going as fast. Anyone who wants to add on that? All right. So let's go just to competencies and under development. And what should women right now, the ones that we're now calling them girls, they will soon be women, what should they learn as early as now? What competency, what kind of mindset should they grow up knowing?
Power literacy.
I'd like to.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I was going to just say power literacy.
Okay.
That's a term that I have been touching on. And what is power literacy? These are learned skills, and those skills are like claiming authority without apology, strategic risk taking, boundary setting, which Kim touched on. And I think these are not innate skills, but they should be taught early and not after burnout. So, yeah.
Yes.
So I have something radical to contribute. My idea is, what if given a choice, what would I'd like to give to the future leaders would be thinking through the problem. I mean, just go through it. If there's a problem in life, just go through it, even if you are shaking through your bones. And the aim is to identify the problem, and once you have identified the problem, look for ways to resolving those problems with the existing props or tools in hand. And do not look for external sources or any kind of help from anyone, which also means you do not have to wait for someone to come and assist you, and you have to figure it out all by yourself. I mean, this should be your thought process. And once you'll start figuring out that problem by yourself, gradually you will understand, you will identify the problem. And initially, it might appear to you that you have failed, or it doesn't work that ways, or whatever the result be. Even if the society or people around you, they might consider it as not a success, but you do not need to classify it as per what others think it to be. For you, it'll always be an experience, a learning experience, a stepping stone to the next level. So once you have this kind of mindset, that'll totally change the game. It has happened with me. That's why I'm so confidently I'm sharing it with everyone here.
Yes, that's a very problem-solving mindset.
I would add.
Yes, please.
Sorry, I would add on. What is the story you're telling to yourself? When you aren't speaking up, when you're struggling, when you're not confident, it's going to the problem, like facing the problem, as you said, Pooja. I liked how you mentioned that when we face the problem, and we're nervous, we're scared, what is the story that's going on in our mind? We have to start with that. And then I would say visibility. We're all visible right now, right? We made that choice to be visible. And I think
Yes.
that's really important in the future for young girls to make themselves visible. And other people may not do that. You may have to be the person that steps
Yes.
forward
Yes.
and
Yes,
navigate.
Teresa, at times, yes, at times what happens is when you are in that stage, like when a person is in that stage where they just want to move ahead, but they are not able to see a clear picture as the story you're talking about. Suppose if I was a person, I am not able to see a picture, but I just know one thing, that I have to move forward, you know. So for me, at that point of time would be just I look for my life in days, morning till evening. Okay, then it's night time, have your dinner, you sleep if you're having sleep, and I don't know, you obviously you're going through something. So next day you get up, don't think about the other day, just think about that day, that you have to complete that day. You have to take baby steps, as you're taking baby steps, you'll figure out something. So that is the entire process. At times we don't have a story. I never had one actually. That's why I'm saying, yeah.
Teresa,
I
did
was
you?
just going to last add negotiation skills. I think negotiation as well is really important for
Yes.
young girls growing up. Learn it, and that's not something we're taught. So we have
Yes.
to sometimes search for that information. How do we learn to negotiate?
Yeah,
Yes.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and
And
value sorry.
yes, oh yeah, yeah.
I was just gonna
We
sorry.
have as much time as you can. I see my time, my timer is knocking, and I just want to say thank you, ladies. Thank you for the insights that you shared. We definitely had takeaways. We had stories to learn from, and this is a call for me and a request, a kind request. If you can come back again, that would make us very happy and the world very happy. Thank you so much for joining us, and our gather for this panel was Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome everyone to this amazing panel. My name is Andrea Camargo. I'm the founder of Refi Collective, an organization based in Bogota, Colombia. We basically connect the entrepreneurial impact ecosystem in Latin America. Super happy to be here with you all. Let's start with intro of Erin. You want to go?
Hello. Hi, everybody. Loving this. So I'm Erin Catrone. I am a licensed therapist out of New York State. I have moved more into the coaching realm to give a little bit more access to kind of break some of the limitations that I see happening in the mental health fields. I work a lot with the nervous system. So what I've really simplified my work to be is nervous system awareness and nervous system training, so we can start to understand how the systems that we move from shape the world that we're reading, the cues that we take in. And, I use a lot of like the no gatekeeping language is I think we all need this and I don't want to hold it. So allowing myself to move into what I've called the space opens this up that we can cross state lines, that there's a lot less from the provider end nuances, that this information can just be available wherever people are around the world. So I found that to be just something I had to shift over to teach this information. And I'm so excited to be here with you all. I can't wait to meet you all and share this conversation.
Awesome introduction, Erin. Thank you so much. Maybe Michelle, you want to go?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle. I am based in Washington, D.C. I'm the owner of two pretty unique companies. One is called Busy Mom Playdates, which is a women-centered travel group. So mental health and access is a really big part of that, because there's a lot of mental struggle and guilt that comes to even allowing yourself permission to travel. And the second is an AI agency that bridges the two for women that are looking to, change industries, or just looking to upskill in this time where things are slightly different. So kind of like in the crossroad of two different things, which is pretty cool. Really excited to be on here with you all and talk mental health and access, because it's a huge discussion in my community.
Amazing. Thank you, Michelle. Mary?
Hi, everyone. I am a former journalist and radio presenter. I work in healthcare through hypnotherapy and different therapies, and as a consultant, moving towards healthcare and AI and VR and augmented reality and the such. So I've been on GatherVerse before. I love being on GatherVerse. It really inspires me to see so many beautiful, wonderful, intelligent people sharing their experiences in life. And I hope to continue working with you guys to making a difference for the future.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, this is definitely a very beautiful community. And I also feel I learned so much from everyone I talked to here. Letitia?
Hello. Good afternoon, wherever you all are. But I'm Letitia B. Russell. I am an emotional well-being coach, consultant, and also an HR consultant. And so I help leaders who are really, I always say, those folks that look amazing on paper, right? They have it all together on paper, but they're in private and they're struggling. And so I really bridge the gap between just how do you show up in person, but still being strategically authentic for yourself. And so started this journey, B2C space, right? Helping women find who they are beyond the trauma that they've been through. And then over the last several years, I have then moved into the space of now helping leaders and executives find out really who they are beyond the title, behind the office, behind the salary that they also make. And then the last thing is I am based here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Awesome, Latisha. Yeah, in connecting with the human being beyond the tag, it's super important in all the aspects of our life. And we also have Malaysia. Sorry, how do you pronounce your name correctly?
Oh, thank you, Andrea. And I'm so happy and excited to be with all of you. My name is Malaysia Harrell, and I am based out of Maryland. So, very excited to be here. I'm a board certified psychotherapist, spiritual transformation coach, veteran, keynote speaker, and the founder of Blissful Life Consulting and the Malaysia Harrell Foundation. And my work really centers around supporting individuals living with invisible disabilities and the often unseen impact of trauma, especially within high achieving professionals and veterans. I practice trauma informed, culturally responsive, and faith based integrated care, helping people heal beyond survival and reconnect with their purpose, identity, and wholeness. And I really believe that healing happens when we honor our mind, body, and spirit together. So, not just one component. So, looking holistically. And again, I am just so excited about this opportunity to connect with such amazing, amazing people who are in this space and advancing the work that we do.
Thank you, Malaysia. I feel like it's not going to be like a very technical conversation, but also kind of spiritual and more holistic. So I'm super excited. Ariel, you want to go?
Hello and good morning. My name is Ariel Wilson Benedio. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I am a motivational speaker, life coach, and the author of The Feeling of Healing that will be out in third quarter of this year. Woot, woot. What I do is help people shift their perspective, embrace personal power, and live a life of purpose. The goal is to take suicide off the table for every human being. And the way that we do that is to show people that they truly have a purpose and a why. And that's why I show up each day. So I've been doing this for over a decade. I served as a clinical director. I've also served as a care coordinator in South Central LA. I'm based locally in Southern California. And essentially, my goal and purpose is to just serve and to create a space where people feel seen and heard and are able to embrace their personal power.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ariel. And I think we're missing Pauline. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. It's so exciting to be here. So my name is Pauline Dugald. I am based out of Canada, and I am an analytical creative. I started as an artist. I spent many, many years in corporate professions of all sorts. And 6 years ago, I embarked upon starting a business that is focused on peak performance. By combining my years of analytical experience plus creativity, I have been studying and then working with people to activate their passion, to activate their creativity and their lateral thinking, which is essential for this day and age when we are faced with so many systems and data overload. I find that the burnout is more prominent than ever. And so I work with people who are already on the verge of starting their transition towards integration of different sides of themselves, because everybody has analytical and creative side. But I provide the tools and understanding of how it all goes together, because I spent so many years in project management and analytical professions that deal with systems thinking. Now I am translating that for human behavior. How does it look like in real life when you're trying to approach it from a creative perspective? And it is especially applicable to women because we do a lot of things. And there are certain things that are best to be done when you have certain resources, and there are other things that are harder. And so in this day and age of excessive data overload, it's easy to lose track of what your creativity is. And so I try to remind people that they have capacity for much greater things if they shift their perception and their understanding and how they do things. So that's what I do with my focal point and my goal now.
Beautiful. Thank you, Pauline. I also work a little bit with systems thinking, so I'm super excited to know more about your work. And everyone here, I think, has a very diverse background to support a very interesting conversation. So let's go to our first question. Where do health systems unintentionally exclude women? And if anyone wants to jump in for answering this one, you're free to do so. If not, I will call someone. Yeah, Michelle, and then Pauline.
Sure. So I think that honestly, health systems are often focused on mainly the childbearing ages. Honestly, as a woman of getting to be of a woman of a certain age, I'm realizing that after childbearing years that things start to drop off a little bit. And then those like perimenopause, menopause conversations don't really, they're not really top of mind in the healthcare system. In my community, I think that's my community is for Gen X women of color. So oftentimes this is the one conversation we have together, primarily because it isn't something that they find that they're able to speak to their doctors about, or there really isn't a huge focus in the healthcare system regarding those things. So that's a little bit of my position regarding that.
Yeah, you're right. I think here in Colombia, at least, in medical professionals don't talk about this. This phase of women that can be really, really productive and also very creative. But we kind of, I personally don't, but we eventually experience some changes in our body and we don't talk about it too much. Pauline?
So I want to bring to your attention 3 instances where the women are excluded. Number 1 is the research and evidence. We have heard for many years the specifics and statistics for autism in children, but most of the research has been done in male population. For whatever reason, I don't know why, but that's been the thing. Most of the research that we draw conclusions from has been conducted on the male population. And the second one is diagnostics. Whenever the diagnostics are ran, it is biased towards males as well. Maybe because the mass is bigger and they're trying to overcompensate. I'm not sure. I don't know that information, but it has been one pattern that has showed up. And the third one is design of the equipment. Even the test dummies, even the cuffs for blood pressure, things like that have been known to be designed for men and not for women. Especially women have very small features and there needs to be an adjustment, but that hasn't quite caught up in many areas yet. So that's the bigger idea that I have and perception of how women so far have been excluded. And I don't think it's intentional. It's just due to design constraints. And I believe it's for reasons of saving money. Because if you're making it something bigger, you can probably reduce it in size. But if you make something smaller, it's harder to increase the size for a bigger person. But that has been definitely affecting women.
Yeah, definitely this probably male dominant paradigm of how we see the world affected not only the results in terms of data, but also how we designed all the healthcare system, the wellness and mental health systems and practices, And as a personal experience, when I was studying veterinary medicine, we often, probably most of my cohort were women, but all of our teachers, or most of our teachers on that generation were male. And so it was like this, sometimes we shocked because they had a very different way of treating the patients than women did, So I think that's also really, really interesting. All right, let's go to our next question. Which leadership signals discourage women from being open about their well-being?
If I can.
Leticia or Mary, you go.
I think specifically for the US, right? I'll kind of tailor my response to specifically being in the US. But, I think leaders reward endurance over like sending that clear message of I'm exhausted, right? Or I'm burned out. And so they reward the person that works countless hours. They reward the individuals that skip their PTO. They reward individuals that, are just simply pushing through how they feel, right? And so when I think about high performance, I think they're praised for being and pushing through exhaustion. They're praised for skipping through, okay, I need to take care of myself today, because they are always on, and that's what the expectation are. And so as women, I do truly believe that we learn that well-being is a liability, right? We learn that if I don't say anything or really say how I feel, then they'll continue to rely on me to do things, right? And that really showcases my worthiness. And so sometimes it's tied to them being worthy of a certain role. And so silence from leaders or leadership around their own stress, I believe they reinforce that idea because it equals weakness. And so again, I'll speak specifically just from the US perspective, but we see that all the time. And so as I'm training or coaching ladies, it's, well, I can't be vulnerable, right? I can't show up and say that today I'm not well, because they tie that to maybe I'm not worthy of the position that I'm in today.
Yeah, definitely. Here in Colombia as well, in Latin America, we have the same expectations from the industries. I think it goes Mary, and then Pauline, and then Ariel. Yeah.
Sorry. I would agree and follow through with Leticia, being that women have the extra burden of being expected to be people pleasers. That is just, it's inbuilt in our system, actually, in our DNA. And in actual fact, that 70% of healthcare workers are female. However, only about 25 to 30% are in leadership roles. So you have leaders who have the kind of attitude, I don't want to say men, but it is what it is, but that have the attitude of, well, we've got to get work done and you're here to do work. So your problems with your children, your problems with your family, whatever it is, it's not our problem. You want to be equal, you got to keep up with the big boys. So that is one of the problems, is that leadership roles have to be a little bit more even, and also in ratio in terms of surveys, like you were saying, that there are things made for male bodies instead of females. Things need to be separated more. That it needs to be sex disaggregated, that it's separated where they are doing specific research for females of certain ages throughout different work positions, etc. So I think that is a big problem. And now that we're working online, it's a big problem, because now we're really not going into the office as often. A lot of people have completely converted to being nomads, digital nomads. And that is a problem because you are really being neglected. So my 2 cents.
Thank you for that statistics. And also in the investment space, we see these kind of very different percentages of women and men that are taking the investment decisions, right? Probably less than 5% of investment decisions are took from women. So we need to start leveling that up. I think it was Pauline and then Ariel.
Yeah, just circling back to that same concept of lack of visible vulnerability in the workplace in general, I'd like to zoom out a little bit and showcase how the fact that current leadership models are based on the warrior mindset. It's all about competition. It has been all about competition, about strength, about showing the strength, which does not leave any space for vulnerability. But what we're moving into is the movement towards connectivity. And so it's a radical shift. The more women are entering workforce, the more they are joining the leadership ranks, they are adding more connectivity focus. And that's going to take a while to shift from that mindset of strength and mindset of competition and showing yourself as a strong person versus actually seeing where connections need to be made in order for the whole system to be holistically harmonious. So that's how I want to show it.
Beautiful. Go ahead, Ariel.
Yes, I was gonna just everybody's saying brilliant things. And just to kind of piggyback, what comes to my mind is the linear life path that we're expected to follow, right? However, like when it comes to childcare or pregnancy or maternity leave, it really does affect that life path. And I'm currently on maternity leave. I had a baby 3 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. However, 2 years ago, I opened a 30-bed licensed facility for acute mental health, and I was the clinical director. However, I had to put my personal life on hold to be able to do that because my counterpart, he was male, and he had no expectations or no vision of having children. So he was working 24/7, right? And I was expected to do the same for my facility. And essentially, I had to step away from that position and step away from my baby so that I could have a baby. And that was, I think, it's really something that affects leadership. Like I had a spot at the table, but I was sacrificing so much to have that spot because the expectation is that we show up in the same way as our counterparts. And we can, and we actually do, I think, outperform them when we are showing up. It's just, how do you find the balance? And the expectation is like there is no balance. You give yourself to work if you want to show up and have that role. And that's been my personal experience and what I've seen in the workplace. So I've excelled and moved up to the leadership position, but quickly realized that in order to have the life I desire, we have to curate it and become my own boss and do the things that I need to do to move forward.
Wow. I just, with what you just said, I think we see pattern that also connects to the economy, right? Because this traditional work we do in our businesses, in our industries, supports the economy in some way. But when we talk about the caring actions, the caring practices of raising a child, pregnancy, all of this, it's not necessarily included in the economy equation. And so it brings like this question to my mind, like how can we value for more than for money all this work women do, right? We're not giving it the attention and the importance it should have.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to this question. Which organizational patterns best predict women leadership burnout? Yeah, Leticia?
So can you tell I'm passionate about this piece and burnout, but I think there are so many, right? It's hard to think about just three because I do think some of these things are rooted in how we were brought up as women, right? They're rooted in trauma, and whether we say it out loud or not, I firmly believe that's where a lot of this it starts from. So first, as women, right, we're given more responsibility, right? Get it done by any means necessary, but we're given all of the responsibility with very little power to push back, right? So we're saying, or they're saying to us, I expect you to do X, Y, and Z, but the expectation is not that we push back, it's that we get it done, right? They're expected to, or we're expected to carry the load, and we're expected to solve the problems and say yes, even when our plate is full. Think about even home. Because I always say, no matter how much as women we try to compartmentalize things, no matter how much we say work is work, right? I'm gonna keep that there. And whatever happens at home, that's what's there. they mesh together, right? They very much collide. And so as women, we are the ones, whether husbands in the home or not, but we're the ones that we're navigating children. We're sometimes caring for our aging parents. We're doing all of the things. And so now you think about work and you're expected to do and handle so much more, right? Second, I think women, we're often doing a lot of the invisible work. Right? We're managing emotions. We're smoothing over the conflicts that happen. We're holding things together. And it's expected, rarely, it's rarely named, right? And never rewarded. And I think the third thing when I think about it is we're promoted into visibility without protection. And what does that mean, right? We are seen and we're evaluated and we're relied on, but rarely do we or are we given that psychological safety, right? Do we feel supported? Do we have people that are cheering for us? Sometimes we do, right? I don't want to make it seem as if we don't. Sometimes we do. But when you compare us to that of our male counterparts, it's always, they got it, right? They can get it. And so I think burnout really isn't about working too much, but I do believe it's about living in a system where we are asked we are asked to do things and rarely support it. And so the two just don't match.
Thank you.
I said a whole lot.
No, that was amazing. I think, Mary, you had something to add here. No? Okay, sorry. Malaysia?
Just repeating that it's in our DNA, and we have to understand that we are physically and psychologically and genetically different than males. And it isn't, because someone has to take care of the young. That is what it is. There are great men out there that do a great job, but it's in our DNA. That's all I'm saying. So we have to work around that, where there's more in the workplace, there's more support for that, where there's integration of childcare, there's integration of social time and whatever else there is. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt someone else's. Go ahead.
No, perfect. Thank you, Mary. Yeah, Pauline, go ahead.
I just want to bring up an example that if you ever watched the movie Barbie, there is a scene where the America Ferrera, the actress, has a monologue about how it's impossible to be a woman. You have to be thin, but not too thin. You have to have kids, but you can't talk about them. You have to make money, but you can't make too much money. There's always these double standards that we're facing with as women, and especially in leadership. You have to be assertive, but you can't be too aggressive or you're going to be called names. And so those things definitely always lead to burnout, because it's impossible to navigate this duality like that has been presented with no solutions for best outcome, really.
Yeah, Malaysia, go ahead. And I think Ariel and then Erin.
Yes, I think I'm excited about this, because I think this conversation is so powerful, and I'm learning from you ladies at the same time. Letitia, you just hit everything on that nail. I just want to add to this just a little bit from a perspective of someone who's worked in those very high leadership roles, working for the Surgeon General of the United States, being the addictions medicine director for the Department of Defense, and working directly with the White House. I mean, we've all been in it, and we've all seen it, and we've all worked with people who've been in these situations. And what I will add is that women, we're expected to lead, we're expected to nurture and stabilize systems. And when we're giving so much, that energy that we give is not always reciprocated. And so therefore burnout is going to be completely inevitable, because you're giving and you're giving and you're not seeing the benefit of, the energy and the work that you've given. And so there are three things that I think, might contribute as well. And we talked about being the emotional, giving that compassion, but I think we're over relied on emotionally. And so, yes, women become the unspoken caretakers of the team, holding everything together, conflict, managing morale. Just look around us who are in the United States, especially close to the DC area right now, and mentoring others and absorbing that emotional labor. And it's rarely named, or even exemplified. And so we don't get compensated for that, right? There's no
no price for that of what we give. Secondly, women are under-resourced structurally. We just don't have the resources available. Many of you have talked about this, having to do things on both sides of the coin, right? We're also community leaders, not just for our jobs, not just for our households. And so women are given expansive responsibilities without adequate staffing, authority, right? Budget. Yeah. And institutional support. So the expectation is always excellence without infrastructure. And that's pretty much a huge problem that we see. And then thirdly, many systems reward, what word do we have? Resilience. I don't know if we overuse the word resilience, but I call it self-sacrifice. And that is not sustainable. And so women start to, experience things on an emotional and physical level. We don't always feel safe, as others have said, to talk about things. So we're always praised for just giving so much, being that resilient person. Sometimes we do get rewarded and get put in these leadership positions. But what I've seen with my own eyes is women are a lot of times put in these leadership positions, but they don't actually have the, they're put in the positions, but they're more so just the face of it, but they're not the ones making the full decision. So what happens? They get all of the backlash when they weren't the ones who were really there to be able to make those decisions. So they don't have the willpower for the decision makings, but they're held responsible for the outcome. So I just think it's very important for people to understand that. Not everybody sees that. They think, oh, I'm Condoleezza Rice, and what you get held, you get set holding the bag when things hit the fan. So.
Well, amazing. Thank you for that, Malaysia. Ariel, go ahead.
Yes, I'm like, yes, everything. What came to my mind is responsibility without authority, right? And so often we're put in place and we have to do the emotional labor, the crisis management, and the cultural holding, right? Like we create the culture, we create the space, it trickles down from our leadership, right? However, there's not, like you said, the infrastructure in place to protect us. There's not the authority in place for us to actually put our foot down when we want to draw the line. It's like we draw the line, but they still push it back, right? And so being able to recognize that when you have all of this responsibility, you have that emotional labor that you're doing on all fronts. I think it is important that we mention that women are so dynamic and we are multifaceted and we're wearing so many hats, right? Like we're taking a hat off, I feel like every hour, and problem solving in that way, but not getting the support or the authority to be able to back up all of this responsibility. So I do think that leads to the burnout much quicker. And for me personally, I feel like that's what led to my burnout quicker than my counterparts.
Thank you, Ariel. Yeah, Irene, go ahead.
No, I'm just loving this conversation and it's so on point. I probably couldn't add too much to what you all have said. But seeing the work that I do, I specialize in trauma, but through the lens of the nervous system and seeing it in the holistic lens, it's systemic, right? A lot of these systems are masculine in nature, the pace in which they're moving and everything that you all have named. But you touched on that important aspect of safety in these spaces, whether it's leadership, whether it's the work, when we're talking about childbearing, when we're talking about our finances, our job security, all of that is going to set off that survival system. So whether it is passed on, whether it is something that is a school of medicine in the health field, or just these systems, really starting to lean into. And I love this because you see here how much power and women are bringing forth. Like we need to bring this into some of these systems. What are we missing? That caring and nurturing and vulnerable space, right? Like really being, I call it, that's the conscious leadership that I'm working with in my staff. And I ask, limited permit holders and what they're expected to hold. And there's such unrealistic expectations. When you hear it, you're like, that is not even feasible. But what do? We do it because it's survival. Women will tend to jump into performance, people pleasing, we do protective mode, and then we turn to silence. And we're not talking about this. So I love this because we're opening conversations, especially for young women coming into this world, that these are just the expectations, that we start to break this open. It's not feasible. This is why we burn out. This is why we get to these places. So really, just seeing that through that lens of that nervous system, that we are in that survival when we know our job depends on it, versus speaking up over our capacity and our realistic limits. So, a lot of these systems I just break down into understanding, how do we get our systems into more safety? We need more conversation. We need more vulnerability. We need that conscious leadership to say, I recognize my burnout. I'm not overriding it. I'm allowing the space for you to have that too. And we need this across the board, I'm sure you know.
Yeah. And I want to do a follow-up question, because I noticed like we all feel connected to this burnout experience. So how did you in your personal life kind of went through that and overcome this burnout? Was it in community? Was it with your family, like doing a certain activity? Yeah, Malaysia, go ahead. And then Michelle.
So I'm not gonna get real long-winded on this one, but it's very near and dear to my heart. I came back from deployment with sepsis. And I've been doing mental health almost 3 decades now. And so I'd never been hospitalized in my life, doing races all over the world, bodybuilding. And when I was finally hospitalized because I was having extreme pain, after 4 days, they told me, Captain Harrell, again, I'm Captain/Colonel at Walter Reed Medical Center, we can't find anything. We're sending you home today, and we're sending a psychiatrist in to evaluate you. So for me, doing the work that I've done for so long, it put me in a sense of understanding what my clients and what our people, the people that we serve, have gone through. And so it was very difficult, because you feel like my whole life was dedicated to serving this country. And when I needed help, you told me I needed a psychiatrist. And so the reason how I got through that was with faith. And so I'm doing my dissertation on that now. I'm about to graduate with my PhD in mind body medicine, adding on to the mental health component. But I will tell you that I'm doing faith and healing, because it is a spiritual component. You mentioned this earlier, that is not always talked about. So when we talked about a male-centered field, right, and primarily maybe white, Anglo-Saxon male, you're discounting so many other entities that are served by this as well. So for me particularly, I would say faith would be the top one.
Wow, amazing. Thank you for sharing, Malaysia. I don't know if it was Michelle or Erin. Michelle and then Erin. Go ahead.
So I definitely second that. I think faith is definitely number one for me, has been number one, and community was the second piece for me. I think oftentimes burnout happens amongst us, and we kind of hold it in, and we think that the burnout is something attributed to us overdoing, or sometimes we take in these I'm trying to find the word, but oftentimes we think that it's a silent and a sometimes alone process. We're often very alone in this space of burnout. For me, community was how I was able to gather with other people that understood what it was. So I have also gone through my own moments of burnout, and it's actually how I started the company, my travel organization that I have now, because I realized I wasn't the only one and I needed a village. And the whole time I thought it was just me. Then I started having more conversations with other people in, other spaces, and realizing, wait a minute, this is a huge thing. This isn't just me going through burnout, raising my kids, being the Uber driver, doing all of the things, working in corporate America. And then through that, I was able to manage, but also learn from other women that were experiencing it and have also overcome, in addition to faith, of course.
Thank you, Michelle. Erin and then Leticia.
Oh, I just wanted to add, that is so much in being in mental health. I've been a licensed clinician for 20 years before I moved over into this coaching world and in many, many different settings. And what I speak to now is what I call the hidden language of symptoms, right? That part of that is pathologizing. And there's no pathology when we like welcome those symptoms in and understand them. So I speak a lot to that, but so much of it, especially for women, is based in suppression. Right? I'm alone in this. No one else knows about this. And we hold it and hold it and hold it. So that community aspect and engaging in that social element or social engagement is part of the safety system. So it's like a bottom up approach. When we start to bring that community aspect in, now we can access what I call like the higher thinking, the higher heart. That's where everything starts to turn back online. So I think that's a huge element where healthcare we can start to bring this into, or all of the systems. But I love the faith piece and the spirituality piece. I speak so much to this because what most people don't understand of psyche, of psychology, they think the psyche is the study of the mind. But the etymology of psyche is life and breath and soul. And I speak to that so much because so many of our wellness models are not incorporating any of that. That's why I use the breath. That's why we have that soul work. It's inevitably going to come back to a spirituality and faith. So I love that you found that's the entry point back to self. These are huge pieces missing from a lot of our systems. And that's all I wanted to share.
I love it. Thank you so much. Letitia? Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. I was getting ready to have an entirely long conversation. But for me, it was personal, right? I had to finally do what I teach. And I was in corporate for, goodness, almost 30 years. And talking about burnout, for me, when I talk about trauma, my biological father told me that I would never amount to anything, right? And that was at the age of 16. And so all my life, I was always like, okay, I'm gonna get these degrees and if I make this salary, I was always chasing something, but rarely did I sit still and lean into the things that I was feeling. I was so busy chasing those accomplishments, right? And when I finally clicked the box and got this accomplishment, it wasn't good enough. People would say, oh my goodness, I'm so proud of you. You did this. Yeah, thank you. Now let me move on to the next. So I never took an opportunity to lean into the very success that I was already sitting in. And so while community was there, that wasn't the time for me to fully take advantage of it. I needed to sit in silence to say, you know what? You did that. You know what? The things that you've accomplished, you did this for you, not because you were so busy trying to prove it to someone else. And so I think the burnout came because it was self-inflicted, because I was so busy chasing what somebody told me that I couldn't do.
Yeah, acknowledging what you accomplished and being in that present moment, right?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Just being kind of feeling enough for it.
Yeah.
Okay, we have some 3 more minutes here in our conversation. So just wanted to see if you have a last advice for women listening to this amazing panel for them to improve their mental health, their well-being, their spirituality, their faith in all of this of what we've talked today. Yeah, Ariel, and then Mary.
Okay. So the last piece I always like to tell my clients is the most important thing is to find your why, right? Nobody else can create that why. Nobody else can tell you what that why is. And that why is your purpose. And purpose is not found, it's created. And we create it through identifying our personal values and making sure that our actions align with our personal values. And on a daily basis, we check in with ourselves because those values can change based on the season of life you're in.
Yeah.
And so making sure that each day you show up with actions that align with the values that you desire. And that's how we get to be the human beings and the women that we desire. And so step into your purpose and create it through actions on a daily basis.
Beautiful. I completely agree. Go ahead, Mary.
So actually, I've been reading a really interesting book called The Alphabet of Belonging, and it's very good because even as a therapist, I tend to try to do everything internally by myself and to, like the people pleaser. But I found that actually community is a big part of it, and that includes community at work, community with family. Having these friendships. Women, we need to start taking care of each other again and not turn into the men who are competitive. We need to work together. This is what's also in our DNA, that we raise the children together, we go to the well together, we harvest together, we hunt together, and we need to get back into that mentality of this is not a competition. We are supporting each other because we have to belong to survive. So I would say start being okay with opening up. And if people judge, maybe that's because they are mirroring some darkness in themselves, the shame of, expressing themselves, or the shame of been told not to be weak. But being strong has a lot to do with communication, and communication is how we survive as a people. So I would say let's get back into pushing programs that bring more togetherness and more organizations that work in group therapies, online self-expression, physically meeting up. It's so important. I create groups all over the place called adventure clubs, and they're really just about getting people out and just having fun, just doing something crazy or just doing something quiet, but just being in it together. That's how we relate. That's how we heal. That's how we move forward.
Wow, so beautiful. Leticia, we have 1 minute and then we close up with you.
Thank you. So, the advice that I would say is pay attention to what your body and your emotions are telling you before you totally try and explain it away, right? Exhaustion is not a weakness. Needing support is not a weakness or failure. And so if you find yourself succeeding in environments that require you to abandon yourself to survive, the answer is find you another room. And I firmly believe that people and things are in your life for a reason, a season, and a lifetime. And so you have to be able to determine if that season is up and if that person's season is up or thing, right? And so that's the advice that I would give.
Well, you girls all touched my heart today. I'm very, very grateful for this conversation. We're always learning and healing together and growing together. Super happy to meet you all today. Let's stay in touch, please. And let's continue with our beautiful summit, She Summit, Superhero Engine. I think it's a great title for this summit. Thank you all so much. And our gather was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Authority in the age of machine confidence. We are entering an era where machines can sound very certain, but certainty is not the same thing as authority, right? Human authority is still the difference between progress and chaos. I am Christy Straw, founder of Lighthouse Leadership Consultants, and I work with leaders to protect momentum when the stakes are high. In small to mid-sized organizations, AI adoption can feel effectively simple. Hey, pick a tool, run a quick training, and tell your team to use it, right? That's really all it entails, most people think. But in fact, if it breaks really loudly. And this shows up as inconsistent quality, missed deadlines, customer risk, and a ton of internal tension amongst your team, suppliers, etc. So when AI enters the workflow, people start asking questions they very rarely say out loud. Will this replace me or expose what I don't already know, right? That's the first thing they want to know. The second thing is, will I look incompetent while I'm learning? And the third thing is, if I use the tool wrong, Will I lose trust or will I get into trouble? Okay. Again, these are the things people are thinking and rarely say out loud. And if leaders don't answer those questions with language and behavior, and those two things in alignment, you get really polite compliance and meetings and private avoidance, right? The water cooler talk, the Slack chat, it is avoidance. So here's the framework I use with leaders who want adoption to stick. Okay, this can be AI adoption, this can be any adoption. 3 things must be crystal clear. All right. The first thing, which I spend a ton of time talking about with teams and boards all across the world, is trust. First and foremost, your team needs to know your real intention. Okay. So not some silly little statement like, oh, AI is the future. No. Okay. This is the time to state your true intention. Are you using AI to reduce busy work? Are you using it to improve quality, to protect margins, to speed up a delivery, or to create additional capacity? All right, that's the first thing. We've got to be honest about our intentions and have that conversation. The second thing that must be present is authority. Who decides what is acceptable use versus unacceptable use of this tool and the output? All right, that's the first thing. Whose decision lane does that fall into? What can be automated? What is allowed to be automated? What must stay human? These are questions that have to be asked and everybody has to understand. And then what must be reviewed before it ever makes its way into the hands of a customer, right? All of these things must be clear and in place as well. And then lastly, and super importantly, is decision speed, decision velocity. AI creates micro decisions for everybody every single day. Which tool do we use? Where do the prompts live? What is our quality metric? When do we escalate? If decisions are slow or unclear, people stop using the tool because it creates friction and it creates risk. AI adoption fails when trust is unclear, authority is vague, and decisions are slow. And that's not a tech problem, my friends. That is a leadership design problem. So let me make it real, okay? A founder says, hey, use AI wherever it helps, right? That's the instruction to the team. One person uses it aggressively and beats up output in a big, big way, right? Another person avoids it because they're afraid of being judged for their output compared to, Tom over here who's using it like a star. And then you've got your third teammate who uses it, but quality drops because no one has defined what must be reviewed prior to it being sent along or even to customer in the end. So now the tool gets blamed. I've seen it time and time again consulting far and wide. Okay, the tool now is blamed, but the real issue is that the human authority layer was never actually installed with the team and with any sort of cadence that had any weight. All right. So here are 3 moves you can make this week. And these work even if you're in a smaller team. All right. The first thing is state your true intention in 1 sentence. We're using AI to reduce busy work and improve quality, not to replace people. Period. Allow a conversation. Second, define a simple use policy for your AI in plain language. What's allowed, what's not, what must be reviewed. It's just 1 page will do, but something documented. That also creates a lane for people to escalate any sort of questions they might have. And then third is install a weekly 15-minute cadence. What has worked this week, team? What failed miserably? Create a failure wall, a failed experiment wall. I do that all the time with teams that I lead. Here's what we're changing next based on these failures, which truly actually makes them learnings, right? So when you do these things regularly, you're building a rhythm, and that in turn builds competence. It reduces fear, it creates psychological safety, and it keeps your standards intact. So in the age of machine confidence, human authority is in fact the one and only differentiator. And if you want the technology to grow and to scale, leadership clarity has to lead the way and grow and scale first. If you want to see more of my work, you can find me on LinkedIn. I am Christy Straw, founder of Lighthouse Leadership Consultants.
Hello and greetings. Welcome to our final roundtable panel for GatherVerse She Summit 2026. And with me, I have a roster of impeccable panelists, and we are going to talk about better outcomes Women Guiding AI with Human Intent. Ladies, I would welcome you to introduce yourself, tell us who you are briefly, and why you're here. And then we'll get started with the panel. And I will begin with you, Malvika. Over to you. Tell us who you are, what inspired you to be here, and we will pass it all the way and conclude with you, Dr. Mikar. Malvika, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Lynn, and thank you, everyone. It's great to be here with you all. I'm Malvika Jitmalani. I'm dialing in from freezing Chicago. Hope you're somewhere warmer than I am. I am the founder of Atlas Group, which is a human capital advisory firm driven by the core belief that to win in the marketplace, businesses must first win in the workplace. I'm also the founder of Women Shaping AI, which is a community that brings together women from all across the world, over 10 countries, to create knowledge networks and access for women navigating this new era of AI that we find ourselves in. And what brought me here is that the mission at GatherVerse and what I'm trying to do here at Women Shaping AI are very much aligned, and I want to see women advance in the world of AI. So here we are. Great to be here with you all.
We're very happy to have you, Malvika, and we're hoping that you're drinking a lot of tea or coffee or whatever. Please keep warm. Fantastic. Over to you, Mega. Tell us who you are, why you're here.
Hi, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. I am Megha, co-founder of Menlo AI, and I also consult different companies like on the intersection of AI, emerging technology, and I have experience building hardwares and smart glasses, so I work around those things, and also how you can be more productive by inculcating different AIs in your work. So yeah, I've been doing that for last 8 years now, and it's such a pleasure to be here.
We're very happy to have you. I think this is the second time we're having you.
Yes.
Welcome back, Mega. Answer. I hope I pronounced that right. If I didn't, please correct me.
Yeah, that's correct. Hi, everyone. Thank you for hosting this event and for having me. My name is Anta. I was a former Web3 facilitator, so I worked mostly with Web3 companies before to connect them and help them grow their business through networking and connection. And right now, I am more focused on my journey as an artist, an AI artist. I also blog a lot about my journey, but not specifically about AI, but more about following my curiosity around technology, spirituality, and culture. So I decided to join the event because I think the togetherness and the value that GatherVerse have really aligns with what I believe as well and support. So yeah, pleasure to be here.
We welcome you. Thank you for joining us, and we're looking forward to learn more of your artistry journey. Stephanie, this is not your first time, and we're very happy to have you back once again. But tell us who you are and why you're here.
Hi, thank you for having me again. Stephanie Sylvester. I'm co-founder of Avatar Buddy, and we're a managed AI as a service company. What does that really mean? We build the AI agents for you, and we manage and maintain them. And then we provide advisory support for AI solutions that we don't build ourselves.
You're welcome. That's very frontier. We look forward to learn more from you. Dr. Kuyana, this is not your first time as well, so we greet you and we welcome you. Please tell us who you are.
Hello, everyone. I am an academic program director of emerging technology at Columbia Southern University. And I've been dealing with AI such a long time, and I just want to help AI grow to all people, everyone.
And you're welcome here. You'll tell us more about your journey. And the panelists are, shall we begin? All right, but we have someone who is joining us Key Jones, are you in a position to tell us who you are, introduce yourself? We'll welcome you back again. Please.
Yes, I'm available. Hi, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here. Always, always, always. I gather it's always well. But my name is Key Jones, and I am the founder of Reset, which is an organization that helps women, men, and also youth organizations as well. Or I'm now tapping into that. And I deal with trauma. I'm a trauma informed facilitator, but I also tap into AI. I've been tapping into AI since maybe the past 3 years on maybe on the responsible and ethical side of things. So I love AI just like Dr. Bradshaw just said. And I just love helping and informing and keeping everyone safe, especially the youth. Because the internet is a beast.
Yes, it is.
And we have to protect our kids too.
Yes, definitely. Welcome. We're very happy to always have you here, Key. Dr. Mikara, please tell us who you are and why are you here with us today?
Yes, my name is Dr. Makara Malongawu. I'm based in Houston. I'm the founder and lead researcher with Kara.ai. Kara.ai is an independent research lab where we focus on ethics and governance, ensuring that we're providing good fact-based research within the artificial intelligence space. Happy to be here with you all.
You're welcome. And not because we concluded with you, I think we can begin with you with our first question, and anyone can feel free to chime in. Dr. Mikara, you're in research, right? But just tell us, give us a glimpse. How is human intent defined within AI leadership?
I would say that human intent is defined within AI leadership in a way that is maybe not always beneficial for everyone. I think right now what we're seeing based on the information that is out there, that a lot of the intent is based in maybe profit margin, securing profit margin, or efficiencies, time efficiencies, things of that nature. And there's definitely a place for that. But I think that there also needs to be a place for the ethical side of things. I do think that there has been a push for to include more of the ethics within understanding and knowledge for leadership. But there's definitely been a push for things being quick, getting onto the market fast, and a little bit less of a push for equity amongst everyone.
Yes, that is a very powerful highlight when we talk about ethics and the balance of ethics when things are moving so fast. Does ethics even catch up itself? But I want to hear from the rest of the panelists. Who else wants to chime in?
I couldn't agree more with what Dr. Mikara said. What I would add to that is I think human intent in AI leadership means intentionally designing and governing systems in a way that protects the humanness and the dignity of people, and in a way that the previous speaker was talking about trust. And so in a way that protects trust and builds trust, not decimates trust between us humans. And yes, there is a place for maximizing efficiency and scale, as Dr. Mikara said, but I think it requires us to ask some hard questions up front, which are questions like, who benefits from these systems? Who bears the risk? And who has recourse if the system fails? So we know from research that AI systems that are optimized narrowly for performance often externalize harm, especially to marginalized groups. And unless human values are explicitly encoded into the objectives and the metrics and governance, we can actually end up doing more harm. So I think human intent is more of an operating discipline than anything else.
You articulated that so well, and the responsibility for whatever AI does, who carries that responsibility? Those are questions that we need to ask for ourselves. And Answer, I see you want to chime in. Please come in. Yes, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something about this question around human intent because in the age of AI, we also have to see that and to recognize that there are different point of view of what's being human is
Yes.
depending on your political view, the religion, or if you have a transhumanistic point of view, a more evolutionary point of view, or even a theological point of view. What is being a human at this day and age is already a starting point. So I think the question is also like if AI is going to influence human life at a high scale, what kind of human intent should be guiding it, and depending on your point of view and your reference, it's going to be different. There are going to be different answers. So
Yes.
yeah.
Definitely. Thank you for even bringing that because it tracks to the next questions. And I want to bring it over to you, Stephanie and Miga, Dr. Kuyane. I want to hear from you. When we are talking about human values, where do you think AI has crossed the line? And where do you predict it will cross the line, not only today, but also in the future? Stephanie, kindly. Your mic, please. Your mic, please.
When I think about what's happening in the field of AI and how it's evolving, I'm a little distraught because instead of using AI and the power of AI to really amplify humans and build it up, and I really believe, and I still believe that AI is a tool that can help improve human kindness. And so when I see people using AI to create nudes of other people, nudes of women, how is that a good use? Why would we spend any time and energy creating a solution that would once again objectify and violate women? I just that leaves me speechless. Or the fact that we're going to use AI to have you buy 5 more pairs of shoes when you already have 20 pairs of shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's in my mind there's a disconnect, and we're seeing this story play over again where people are using AI to basically do the same thing that they did with social media, with the internet, and it doesn't have to be that way. But as long as we value money over human lives, we will always, it seems like we'll always have that. And every time we get a new set of people that says, oh, we'll be better, and then they can hold that facade for maybe a year or two, and they're even worse. I think that it's worse because they have built our expectation that to think that they might be better. It's okay for somebody to like who has malintent, who doesn't respect women. That's
Yeah.
fine. They're not going around saying, "Oh, we want to be nice." And so
Mhm.
we are at a crossroads right now in terms of human value and what we do with AI. And I take time out of my schedule to do these presentations and these podcasts and these webinars and conferences because I feel like if I can advocate enough, then people will start to see that we don't have to have AI do what we're now being told. That's the only way. We'll put ads in the AI. We'll have the AI optimized to sell you stuff. We're gonna have porn in the AI. We're gonna have the AI so it can undress women. I mean, that
Yeah.
is not a good use of the technology.
Not at all. It's not a good use. And that is quite an interesting observation because I believe AI only uh, amplifies who we are. It's not here to create something new. I wish it could, but it's just an amplification of who we are. And yes, thank you for such an interesting observation and sharing it with us. Mega and then Dr. Kuyane.
Um, so what I think is the way AI is moving, it's definitely faster than we plan, and it is also very useful if we say it helps us save time and a lot of things. It helps us be more productive, but the real problem involves like it drifts when we start saying that okay, engagement is more important or growth is more important, numbers are more important, and cost reduction is more important than the intent and the dignity of the product or the use case around it. So that's, I guess, where the problem is created when we start using too much AI and not have humans in the loop. So it's very important for someone to see if it's the right decision. Even if it's automated, it has to be a right decision based on real human analysis and data. So I think that's where we need to stop. We need to create the roots of human intent, and then obviously automate it and make it better and faster and save time with the help of AI.
Mega, I have a follow up to what you just said. You mentioned when we use AI too much, and we are the humans who are using AI too much. I don't know, is there a difference whereby we set up systems that are totally dependent on AI? And is there a difference when humans, as ourselves, we are always on AI? AI is the go-to help, number one help, AI. When I need this, AI. And right now we even have agents. When I need to shop, I put my shopping list for the whole month or entire year, and the work of AI is to do the shopping. So, do you have a difference between that, and what are the dangers of that?
Yeah, I think you know what you said. We are spending a lot of time on AI. ChatGPT is probably our best friends, all of us. And but I'm not talking about how we're using AI like that, but how we're using it to make decisions is important. If we are completely dependent and making opaque decisions only based on the data that's provided by the AI and not analyzing it to something that happens on ground level, that's the major difference where the decisions are different from humans involved in that process and only making the decisions that are only based on AI, or maybe you know the systems that are completely created with the help of AI and no human involved.
Thank you for clarifying that on the decision making part. Dr. Kuyana, I'm curious to hear from you. What is your take? What do you think of the future?
I think AI has a great future, especially if we use it ethically and in the right ways. I am so grateful for what Stephanie just shared because she's right. I mean, seeing AI bots to be girlfriends or to carry babies for women that don't want to, that's sickening. To me, that's not the realm of where we should use AI. AI should be our assistance and to help us to deal with things a little bit faster or do things at our job to make it easier. I mean, some of the perverse things that we've seen AI is being used for is really sickening. We need to really work together to make AI accessible to everyone and not just for those weird ways that some want it used for. We should use it for a lot of things. I was thinking about, cancer research, how AI is being used for that, helping individuals, even the surgeries that are taking place, using robots to assist, for a better accuracy rate. And in academics, we should also use it, not for students to use basically for cheating on assignments, but to use to provide efficient research in which they can write the papers themselves, but also use AI as a stepping stone or a foundation. So I think if we use AI in a way, responsible AI, that's what I like to call it. If we can use it ethically as we can, that would be the goal for the future, not to just use it in for just weird and perverse ways. And we got to really protect the kids because I will not let my kids use certain forms of AI because of some of those ways that are being pushed out there and to the younger population now. That it's really perverse.
Responsible, ethical AI. That is well said. Does anyone want to add a sentiment to that answer? raising your hand. Yeah.
Yes. So you've asked earlier about when the AI is drifting, when we develop this technology, and I think AI is drifting the moment it doesn't serve humanity anymore. And it can translate with removing human dignity if it's just a number, if the person is just considered as a number. And I think there are a lot of dystopian science fictions that can already depict that kind of future where if AI do all the work, what are we here for?
Mm-hmm.
So we have this intrinsic value that shouldn't be taken away from us, and also the way we relate, the human relationship with
Yes.
with one another, the belongings in terms of culture. Because if there is a standardized culture on the internet, then you erase an entire representation.
Yes.
And we also, because I am presenting myself as an AI artist, which is already a little bit controversial for some, which doesn't consider AI as an art, and how can you work ethically and show your creativity and using this tool as a collaborator or a tool, and not
Yes.
just a replacement.
Correct.
So yeah, I think that's how this AI thing could do things like this.
Well put answer, and thank you for bringing it on a creative perspective. That's very, very important. You know, Stephanie, I saw your hands up. Before I come to you, Dr. Mikhail. Stephanie, what did you want to add? Your mic, please. Your mic, please.
I was responding to your question about responsible AI. Finish that comment, but we've gone back to the other question. I was going to respond to that. So,
All right. You're welcome. Dr. Mikhail, in your research, I believe you do something to do with design. You have something that could help us with this. Which early design decisions most influence long-term outcomes? And Malvika, I also want to hear from you, Dr. Mikhail.
Yeah, so I would say, based on the research, there are quite a few things that do most influence those long-term outcomes. I would say one of those things being, of course, data selection and proxy choice. Through the research, especially in areas like healthcare and things like criminal justice, quite a few different areas. Especially the past couple of years, you've seen areas where, based off of these design choices, you see negative outcomes, which are long-term, that do affect people, not just now, but continuing on in the future. For example, within healthcare, there is a case study where, developers or individuals who are directly impacting development of these different use cases, from their perspective, they may not see different proxies. For example, there was an AI use case where AI was established to diagnose people, and this is just in general, is to help doctors with diagnosis, but their proxy or the logic that they used to come up with this diagnosis was based on cost. It was based on individuals who showed up for various different whatever that was ailing them to hospitals and things of that nature, but it misses a lot of context. Say, someone doesn't come to the hospital because they don't have money, or they don't go to the hospital for whatever contextual issue, and based on that, using cost as a sole proxy, you're essentially saying that somebody doesn't go to the hospital, that they are considered healthy, which means that they are maybe less diagnosed with more advanced issues, based off of those different types of logic. So different things like this that directly influence social impact, influences individuals day to day, absolutely has those long-term outcomes. And then kind of building off of that too, you think about team compositions and things like that. If you have monolith of individuals who are designing these different tooling, even thinking about problem framing, all these different things, talking to people who will be most influenced or most impacted by these use cases at the end, including them in the beginning, including them in ideation. That way, when you are building these different use cases, that you're thinking holistically versus kind of doing a backtrack, once something is out there and asking for feedback, after something is already deployed. So it's important to get a full circle picture at ideation. That way you can positively influence long-term outcomes.
Yes, and you bring a very essential point that when we're talking about monolithic design, I would call it that's the biggest failure we could do when it comes to AI. Just having one angle to something, absolutely wrong. And Malvika, I wanted to hear from you. What is your take on this?
Completely agree with what Dr. Makara has just said. I think one of the most consequential early design decisions in AI is about alignment. So specifically, what is the system optimized for and what values are embedded into that optimization? And I think alignment sits upstream of almost every downstream outcome. So alignment means ensuring that what an AI system is optimized to do matches human values, it matches real world goals and societal well-being, not just technical performance or efficiency. For anyone who wants to learn more about alignment in AI, there's a fantastic book that I would recommend called The Alignment Problem. It's by Brian something. I don't remember his last name. I think it's Brian Christian. And beyond alignment, I think there are several kind of tightly linked decisions that sort of compound long-term effects. So one is metric selection. What gets measured becomes the proxy for success, as Dr. Makara said. And when metrics ignore trust, fairness, downstream societal impact, those outcomes are effectively deprioritized. Obviously, data choices, like Dr. Makara explained, and then human override and accountability mechanisms. So systems that are designed without meaningful human intervention points will shift responsibility away from people and toward automation, which makes harm harder to correct. So what makes alignment especially important is misalignment scales faster than governance can parent. So if you're retrofitting ethics after deployment, that can be costly and politically fraught and often ineffective.
Yeah, I'm listening to you and I can't imagine. I'm just reflecting on the effect of misalignment. The way you put it, it seems like a dangerous thing for me and we don't want to get there. Key Jones, welcome back. And we just want to bring you on this. And I'm coming to you, Mega, as well. Why are women's perspective critical in AI deployment and governance? Okay.
Yeah, sure. I say women, we bring system thinking. We bring system thinking, we bring lived experiences, and we bring morals more than anything. We're gonna think before we do anything. But one thing that I tell you that we're gonna do as women, we're gonna ask questions. You can't you can't get by us without us asking questions. We're gonna ask what we want to know. One main thing we're gonna always ask is who gets overlooked and who could possibly also get impacted first. So what happens to families, what happens to communities for one, what happens to caregivers, and also what happens to children, because us women, we lead from the heart, which is a place of stewardship, not just innovation, but we want to protect whatever we put our hands on. We just have that mother instinct. We like to, I would say nurture it. So we often more in tune with the relational impact, which is the trauma and kind of power off balance a little bit, and those long-term social consequences, because many of us, we kind of navigated those exclusions ourselves. So we quickly recognize when systems replicate inequality, even when the math kind of looks good but not good, we're going to recognize it right away. So that perspective is not solved, but it's strategic. So it's what prevents technology from becoming a harmful infrastructure.
And I wholeheartedly resonate with what you say, and I believe most of the women can, and that is who we are. That is our nature. Mega, you're nodding to
Yes, it
that.
is.
Mega, you have something to say. Please tell us.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Ki here. And women bring more impact aware lenses in everything. So, women in general, they understand how important it is to consider everybody, all kinds of communities, and all kinds of edge cases, and what would be the consequences ahead if we make these decisions, and not just to put numbers on the table, but also trust and importance of human intent and values in the decisions. So, also considering people who do not have a voice many times on the table, and understanding them, understanding the communities, and the consequences that would bring these decisions to, and all of those things.
Yeah, we have the mindset of the society. We carry the society, right? I think it's an African proverb or it's a global proverb that says if you educate a woman, you educate the whole society, and that is beautifully well put. You know, I'm bringing it over to the next questions, and I'm coming to you, answer and Stephanie. What actions across sectors can slow harmful acceleration without stalling progress? Your mic, please.
So when you think about this, we all think that, or the people that are building AI systems think that they're the smartest people in the world. And they get into a room and they argue with each other. And then through their very narrow lens, they come up with solutions. And then they try and convince us that that what they're building makes sense, without any thought or deference to the actual people in the community. And what I see happening, or where we went when we built out our AI solution, is we started with the community we wanted to impact the most, the marginalized communities. And we were intentional about hiring people from those communities to define our requirements. And what we ended up with was a foundational base that was such that as we're building on it, it is stable and continues to uplift those communities. And as we're evolving, we don't have to retrofit anything, because we go in with input from those communities. We reinforce. I have some new customers, and I'm telling them, even though you are my customers, what I'm building is not for you. What I'm building is for your customers. And unless your customers are part of the conversation, then whatever I build has a higher chance of failing, because I have not had any opportunity to engage with those customers. Um, so doing it that way does not slow progress. It slows harm, it mitigates, but it doesn't slow progress. And so what we've seen is that we can go faster, and we are able to come up with how to solve problems, real world problems,
Yes.
with AI before the big boys do, because we started with from that perspective. And so I encourage anybody that's building, if you're not engaging with the marginalized communities, with the low resource communities, with the communities that are traditionally overlooked, you're putting your AI solution at risk, and you're going to have a hard time scaling.
Yes.
But if you start with those people, you start bringing them into the fold, then what you end up having is you end up having a solution that it is so flexible. It's
Definitely.
almost dizzying what you can do. And I'll just end with, we have farmers in Ghana. We
Mhm.
have using our tool to learn how to farm. We have people in Belize using our tool to preserve Belizean history, learn about Belizean history. We have healthcare provider using our solution in the US. Very, very, very diverse. And we don't have to have a special code base. We don't have to
Yes.
have special branches, because the way we built our solution flex to all these diverse
Mhm.
ways.
Definitely, Stephanie. What you said just resonated, and it aligns with what we believe at GatherVerse community development. Coming up with the solution begins with the people. When you begin with your smart mind, as you wrapped it up, technologies, when they come together, that they're smart in their own ways. But when it comes to solution for everyone, it applies only when you bring them at the table. Answer, tell us what you think, and then I'll come to you, Dr. Kuyana.
Yeah, I agree with Stephanie. When she talked about the importance of having a good foundation when you build something, and I would say when it comes to see how we can have less harm on the society regarding to AI. On the macro level, it's gonna be difficult because I think the giants have more influence than us. I'm a bit negative on this, unfortunately, because uh, most of the time when a disruption happens, and yes, there is people who are gonna position well, but you also have to fight against those big companies, and there is a need also to be mindful and be aware of the different tools that are at our disposal and what kind of narratives and agenda are put through them, because there are different goals depending on the country. US is more for innovation, UIA is more for an experimental hub, China is more for control. So regarding depending on your goal, being a bit more flexible on where you want to go and knowing balancing the risk and the advantage you can exploit from those systems. So yeah,
Thank
I
you
would say
for
that, but I don't have a real answer or a solution about how we can have less harm, because
yes.
usually it's like it happens and then you correct it. So yeah, or we learn from history.
Yes, answer, and it's okay if we don't have all the answers. We are in the frontier, and that's why we have discussions like this. You bring your piece, I bring my piece, and the sooner we realize it, the more we have answers. So it's okay. We're okay with the expressions, and that was very insightful. Dr. Kuyana, what is your take on this? Your mic, please.
Well, I think that if we go forward with coming up with a solution, we need to do it from all angles, not just one particular group or person, to come up with what we can do to accelerate AI into a more positive environment. We need to have men as well as women, and we have to have everyone, not just a particular group of billionaires or anybody. We have to be all in on this, so that way we can drive innovation, and we can drive innovation with AI. And that's the only way that we'll be able to successfully improve it and get it to what we need to do. We need AI. Is very disturbing to find some AI that is being created for women about women's health are being created by men. That should be
Yes.
created with women consulting. I'm sorry, because we know more about our health than any guy can ever tell us. So we need to come together. That's the only way we're going to push AI to a positive, innovative way forward.
Dr. Quiana, when I'm listening to you, and thank you for mentioning that particular subject on women's health and AI, and we're going to carry it over to our upcoming Women's Health Summit. I look forward to seeing you. But I'm just wondering, we've all advocated the need for having community and having everyone coming together, but how do we make this happen? How do I bring someone from Kenya? I'm in Kenya. How do I bring someone from China? How do I bring someone from Trinidad? How do we come all together and just do this innovation together? Does someone has an answer or has a sentiment for that?
Yeah, I mean, we're a Miami-based company. We're working with people in South Africa. We're working with people in Ghana. We're working with people in Belize, and we're working with people across the U.S. And so, I believe the first thing is to have this global mindset. Believing that the talent that you need might not always be right next to you. In fact, it's better not to have the talent being right next to you because you and them are seeing the same thing. But if you have talent from different parts of the world, there is different worldview and different perspectives. So the way you're solving the problem becomes way more holistic. And it's not unheard of. I mean, we have a weekly meeting with people from South Africa, Miami, and California.
Yes.
It's a little challenging to get a timeline, a time that meets everybody's needs, but we're managing to do that. And so I believe that it's what's the mindset that you want. So if you go into it saying it is possible, then it becomes possible. If you go into it with, oh, we have time zone difference, we have language challenges, then those will become challenges.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. That was insightful. And Dr. Mikara, I want to hear what's your take on this. I want to hear from you, Malvika and Mika. When innovation celebrates disruption, we've all seen fast speed is appreciated more, and communities bear the consequences. So who bears the responsibilities? Dr. Mikara. Your mic, please.
Thank you. I would say who currently bears a responsibility?
Yes.
If you ask me, I'd say no one. And I think that's the problem. Us as society, we shouldn't bear the responsibility. And I would say maybe we are, but I don't think as a society we're educated enough to take ownership either. So I would say, who bears it now? No one. Who should bear it? Your government should bear it. We should have frameworks that are in place that are globally recognized that should guide us. Companies should bear that responsibility. But in general, I would say that's not something that's currently happening. And I think that's where we do have a lot of these issues that I think we're all kind of on the same page from an ethical, equitable perspective, but that's where we get a lot of those issues is because we don't have anyone taking that responsibility.
Yes to that, Dr. Mikar. And do you think this will happen anytime soon? Do you think we will remain like this for years? In your perspective as a researcher, what's your prediction?
I think that we're seeing individually countries doing it. You have the EU AI Act, you have Canada with their act, things of that nature. They're coming. But also you see that the top AI companies, AI models are US based. And so that does pose a problem if also, the US is not as forward thinking or motivated to have those types of things, governance, as a whole here. So I think in general, from a global perspective, we're heading in the right direction to have governance. but it will take time.
It will take time, definitely. Malvika, what is your take?
I think responsibility lies with those who not only design but also deploy capital and finance and profit from the system. So, and we know that legal scholars are increasingly arguing that algorithmic harm is not accidental, it's the result of governance gaps. And so when we think about who bears the consequences, I mean, look at what has happened with, and this is not science fiction, these are real cases of teenage deaths that have resulted from teenagers being exposed to systems like character.ai and ChatGPT, where these AI systems sexually groomed teenagers for months and months, and then ultimately encouraged them to commit suicide. Two such cases, there have been dozens actually, but two such cases that are high profile cases in the US were the cases of Sewell Setzer and Adam Rain. And when Sewell Setzer was encouraged to commit suicide by character.ai, character.ai tried to argue that its AI system has freedom of speech. And of course, the judge's counter argument was freedom of speech is a right that should be afforded to humans, and this system is not human. And so these are examples of, Dr. Kiana said earlier that we need to protect the youth, and these are examples of situations where we failed to protect the youth. So the responsibility needs to lie not only with the developers of these models, but the people who are financing and promoting these models.
Yes, and it seems to me that the work ahead is quite big. We have a lot to do. Yes, we've gotten somewhere so far, but with such kind of examples where kids are committing suicide as a result of persuasion, I know people used to commit suicide, but it doesn't have to extend with machines as well, especially for kids. I mean, that seems so horrible, and we have a lot of work to do. And that is why we gather for such summits and we discuss and we take our actions at home. Mega, you're closing us off. What's your take?
So I think I definitely agree with Malvika here because it's important to take responsibility and ownership of something that you've built, and people who funded this and deployed this, the developers who've designed it, everybody is responsible for the consequences that are bared by the vulnerable societies and also uh, these age groups, teenagers, and everybody else. The government definitely is a part of taking responsibility in all these actions on a broader level. But yes, people who design it, fund it, develop it, are a part of it, are marketing it, they're all responsible, and they have to take ownership of these situations and cases.
Yeah, just to follow up, do you think we have the responsibility to also hold them accountable?
Oh yes, definitely. Because if they are making profit out of it, they are making money out of it. They're designing it. They're marketing it for, the systems to work, and they're saying that it's going to make your life better. They are definitely accountable if it's making the life bad or creating cases like that, or the mindsets in specific age groups where they are vulnerable and they're grooming. They are definitely accountable.
Yes, thank you. Well, panelists, to wrap this up, this conversation was quite insightful. I learned so much, again, so much. Answer briefly, tell us something to close off if you have something to say. Briefly.
Yeah, I just wanted to add the issues of culture because everything starts with the culture. And in my personal opinion, it's everyone's responsibility because I think the children has to be also monitored by their parents, and you don't need to be 24 hours on your computer when you're 5. So there is also responsibility from the parents, I think, and also what is considered normal nowadays when everything is digitalized and virtual. So I think the layer is there are different layers of responsibility starting from the government which gives the framework and the regulation that helps monitor how the companies build their system, then bringing awareness through education about how to approach it, and it's for curiosity and also the responsibility as a person to know, yeah, that's how we live now. What should we do about it?
Yes, definitely. And maybe just one more second. I think the team allowed us to have just one more bit. And if there's anyone to say, if there's something you want to say to the future AI leaders who have been prepared, this is the open mic for you. Please. Okay.
Yeah, I would just close off by saying, there's no doubt that AI is going to transform how we live, work, and play. I think what we need to keep in mind, though, is that AI transformation should be people-led and tech-enabled, not the other way around.
Amazing. Stephanie.
I was going to say the exact same thing, so nothing else to add.
All right. Who else? Dr. Vikar, something to conclude as of?
No, I think that's a great way to end. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Megha, anything else to end us with?
Yeah, I think all of it is actually what Malvika said, that it's very important that we work with AI and not AI replacing us and making it, different. So yeah, I think it's great.
All right. That's a beautiful wrap up, and it was a powerful panel. This conversation will continue. We have an upcoming GatherVerse AI Summit, so I'm looking forward to have you back, ladies. It was such an awesome time spending it with you. And our Gather was well for this last roundtable panel, GatherVerse Summit 2026. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
He's on a drug. children not to do what I have done. Spend your lives in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. Well, I got one foot on the platform, the other foot on the trail. Going back to New Orleans to wear that ball and chain. Well, there is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy, and God